You remember when 515 used to be close enough, Dan, but now it's all digital, it's on the money?
Right. Did the Parks Department actually officially announce the name of the Center Lake Pavilion? Because I see it on the agenda as the summertime.
Yeah, well, it's not been, yeah, it's kind of around, but yeah, I can say it tonight. Yeah. I got time.
Okay, I'll call the meeting to order. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the January minutes. Everybody had a chance to read them. If there are no changes or additions, need a motion to accept.
I move we accept the January minutes.
Motion to accept, second.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Next thing up, we're going to do our public meeting now on the bond resolution for the park office. Same thing we voted on last month.
And we've got Randy here.
Randy?
We'll turn it over to you, Randy.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Randy Rumpolo with Barnes & Thornburg with offices up in South Bend. And so you may recall being here last month where you adopted the preliminary resolution indicating your initial intent to provide for the issuance of bonds for the project, and which is the building that would be constructed, about 6,000 square foot facility for use by the Park and Recreation Department. Tonight we're here for the public hearings, essentially two public hearings, but you can combine them into one. One public hearing relates to that resolution that you adopted last month, the preliminary resolution, and what you would be doing tonight, holding the public hearing and then considering the confirming resolution, which is the shorter of the two resolutions. The second public hearing relates to the appropriation of the bond proceeds, and that appropriation is actually baked into the longer resolution, which is the bond resolution itself. And so I can just speak to both resolutions generally, and then if you have questions, happy to answer them. Again, the shorter resolution is just simply confirming your prior action after you hold the public hearing, your prior action from last month where you indicated your intent to issue the bonds of $2.8 million. We did publish notice in the paper to provide for the public hearing tonight. The resolution references that, and I did email the public hearing proof of the notice, the proof of publication. And so all you're saying in this resolution, you're just confirming your prior action that it would be a public utility of benefit to provide for the construction of that building for use by the department. The second resolution, the longer resolution, makes for light reading on a cold winter night, but what it does do, it lays out everything that needs to happen with respect to the issuance of the bonds. And these bonds would be issued by the city for and on behalf of the Park District. So they would be payable from a tax levy on the Park District, which has the same boundaries as the civil city. And the bond amount authorized is not to exceed $2.8 million. The interest rate, I think, is set out at not more than 6%. And I reference both of those together because we expect the actual bond principal amount to be less than $2.8 million, and we certainly expect the interest rate to be less than 6%. The idea was to provide maximums so that depending upon where we ended up, we wouldn't have to come back. And we usually try to aim high with the maximum so that we're not, if we're off by $1 in terms of the maximum amount, we would have to start the approval process all over again. So we usually set higher amounts. The bonds would be payable solely from that Park District tax levy. And so the resolution indicates that the Park District has its own 2% debt limit. If you're familiar with the city having the ability to issue general obligation bonds, this is the same concept except for the Park District. The statute provides different districts. The cities have different districts that can authorize debt. The Park District is one of those districts that can authorize debt for park purposes, and certainly that garage, that building, I should say, would be a park purpose. The other items in the resolution of note, I won't go through page by page, but it does provide for the sale of the bonds either by competitive sale or negotiated sale. Currently, Andy Mauser with Baker Tilly, the city's municipal advisor, is recommending that the bonds be sold pursuant to a competitive sale and that they be rated. The expectation is, and he did some analysis, because originally, given the size of the bond, we thought it might make some sense to have the bonds maybe be looked at by local banks. But given where, as you may know, interest rates have gone up, and certainly in the municipal market, rates have gone up a little bit as well. And so Andy's recommendation is that the city and the Park District would likely get a better interest rate selling out competitively in the bond market and have them be rated as well. And so that's the direction we're proceeding. There is a rating call scheduled, I think, the first week of March, not next week, the first full week of March. And we expect that the rating will be good on these bonds, just given where the city's rating is. The other thing I would note, the ordinance lays out the funds and accounts. So when the bond proceeds, when the bonds sell, the underwriter will pay bond proceeds to the city, to the Park District, and a portion of those proceeds would pay costs of issuance incurred to issue the bonds. The balance of the proceeds will be applied to the project. The balance of the resolution in front of you then simply provides for the issuance of the bonds and the payment of the debt service on an ongoing basis. It authorizes the creation of a bond fund so that as the tax revenues are received, those payments would be used to pay the bond. The amount of the levy would match exactly what is needed for the debt service on an annual basis. So the balance of the resolution, there are a lot of provisions in here. We anticipate these bonds will be bank qualified because the city isn't expecting to issue more than $10 million of bonds. That's the threshold in the IRS code. The benefit of that is it makes banks at the national level in terms of the market, big banks, more interested in buying this debt. And so with the competitive sale, we expect that you would see a slightly lower interest rate than if they weren't bank qualified. And that's all dependent upon how much in bonds we expect the city to sell this year. And so based on everything we know and Baker Tilly knows, we expect it to be at below the $10 million. I don't know if the city will do any more debt this year, but certainly just based on what we know now, it'll be less than that. So this does authorize the bonds to be issued as bank qualified. And it also contains all of the provisions that are necessary under state law to issue the bonds and also federal tax law. There's provisions in here that provide for the bonds to be issued on a tax-exempt basis, which again provides a lower rate than if you issued them on a taxable basis. So I'm happy to answer questions about either resolution, but certainly no members of the public here, but you should still open it up for the public hearing as well before you consider the resolutions.
And if you want to do that, Steve, you can open it up.
Okay, first of all, does anybody here have anything?
Yeah, Randy,
Yes.
how are the payments on the bond paid between when it's issued and when the tax rate goes into effect next January?
So the bonds will be structured so that there will not be a payment due until that point. So there'll be
Okay.
what in the market they call it a long period. So
Yeah, it seems like.
yeah, there won't be because I think these are set up to be paid in January and July if I recall, and so
Yeah.
there won't be a July payment due. It'll just be a long period so that the first bond payment will be next January, or actually it'll be next July, because there's no taxes that'll be paid until.
Right. Our distribution wouldn't come till halfway
Yes.
through the year.
Exactly.
That's what I was wondering,
Right.
how that
Right,
worked.
right, because the levy that was put in place last fall didn't have this bond issue in it.
Correct.
And so there wouldn't be a payment in either May or November of this year. It'll be the next May when the first levy receipts will be received. And so I think Andy has it structured so that there wouldn't be a payment until July of next year.
Okay, I didn't see a payment schedule in here, so I just wondered. Okay,
Yeah,
thank
no,
you.
and it's a good point you make about the payment schedule. I think I talked about it last time, but I should say it again. This bond resolution is set up as a parameters resolution so that Andy will work with the clerk treasurer and defining exactly what each principal payment should be based on the market at the time they go to sell the bond. So what this authorizes is not to exceed 2.8 million. I think, I want to make sure I'm saying it right. I think the final payment will be, I think it's January 2032. So that's the outer limit. It may be a little bit shorter than that, but it all, again, depends upon where the market is as we get closer to sale.
Okay,
But-
thank you.
Any others? Okay, we'll open it up now for public comment, questions. Don't hear any?
I just had one question,
Okay.
just so I understand. This bond could go in to be included in the city bond of 10 million
So what this, what I was referring to, there's a provision in the federal tax code that says for cities and towns and counties that are issuing debt every year, if a city, like say the city of Warsaw, if the city of Warsaw intends to issue less than $10 million in a year, then all of the bonds that are issued either by the city or any of the districts of the city, which would include the Park District, all of those lumped together. If it is intended to be less than $10 million, then all of those bonds can be what are called bank qualified, meaning that banks get a little bit of a break if they buy those bonds. If, for example, the city knew that, oh, we were doing a much bigger bond later in the year, then these bonds and those bonds couldn't be bank qualified. But at this point, the city, the mayor and the clerk treasurer represented, there's no intention of issuing bonds in excess of $10 million. And my understanding is there may not be any other bonds this year, but certainly not in excess of $10 million. And so this bond then can be bank qualified. Now, if something were to happen later in the year that was not anticipated at this point in time, that would be okay. But right now, these bonds will hopefully be then designated as bank qualified, which again gets you about, it's between 10 and 15 basis points, which is about 1/10 of a point, an interest rate differential. So it's a slightly better rate, but any amount will do when you're looking at issuing debt. So,
Yes, thank you.
yep.
So we actually have two things to vote, two resolutions to vote on. We're confirming the last one, or the one we did last month, right?
Yes.
Okay. And that's the first one, so we need, if we have no more questions or anything, a motion to confirm the prior resolution, which is resolution number 2023-01-01.
Yes, I'll make that motion to approve the first resolution confirming our previous adopted resolution from last month.
And do we have a second?
I'll second that motion.
A motion and a second. All in favor of approving the resolution, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now, the second one is for the actual bond issuance. And up to 2.8 million, but probably less. And I don't know if everybody read through the other pages back here. I did. Not a lawyer, so. But we need a motion to approve that one.
I would also make the motion to approve that resolution.
Is that 02?
Authorizing the issuance of bonds for providing funds for the park expenditures.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you.
So Randy, do you need them to sign tonight? Do you have that, or you do? Okay, yeah. Yeah. Just let you guys know where the tabs are.
Yeah.
You guys can just sign those real quick.
He's not like turned off on the street. Well, I think I know, you know what that.
Accepted your declaratory resolution. Here. One more.
The second one has 2 pages to sign.
Another tab right here. There's 2 pages.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
See you a little later.
Yeah.
Next up is update on the park office and maintenance building.
Yeah, we just talked about that, so we'll, it's coming along very well. We were in there today, and they're starting to seal the concrete floors. They're painting, they're finishing the HVAC. NIPSCO just activated the gas meter today. Metronet is bringing the fiber to the building. The mechanics lift was installed the other day. The drop ceiling and the brake conference room is being installed. Things are moving at a torrid pace down there. A lot of things happening. I took Stephanie and Suzanne and Heather through it the other day, and they're excited. So we're still working on the final drawing of the ADA parking space that goes out front, but that should be done within the next week. And then, of course, we're still looking at mid-March for some kind of certificate of occupancy. We're not sure if we can get the full certificate until they do the paving, and then we're at the mercy of when the paving plan opens up there. So that could be late March, early April, when the final paving of the lot's done. So, but moving right along.
Okay. Questions? Okay, update on the pavilion.
Here again, construction has remained steady over the winter months. Demolition and the removal work is complete. Foundations and framing are nearing completion. The HVAC, electrical, plumbing, rough-in work is moving along well. They're looking to wrap that up in the next couple of weeks and start closing walls in. Final details are being coordinated regarding the finish colors, the signage on the front of the building, technology components. We just met with All Pro for the audio visual, and we've had Brady Burgess down there for the internet. By March, the contractor expects to be in on the exterior siding and soffit and drywall work. The months of April and May will be busy with detailed finishing activities, with the months of June and July being used for final floor, painting touch-up, and inspections. So that's kind of what's happening down there. Just met with Greatcraft today. We're actually going to go down, and we've sent a proposal to the foundation on what the sign will look like. It is going to be called the Zimmer Biomet Center Lake Pavilion is what it's going to be called. We're working on the sign design, and we're very close to that. We're looking at letters, individual letters that'll be backlit with LED lights at night. So we're working on that as well. So,
Sounds good. Questions? Okay, new business, 2022 year in review.
yes, here we go. You know, we accomplished many things in 2022. We've had projects, collaborations, ongoing projects, events, programs. Coming out of the pandemic, many things returned to somewhat normal. We got back to, full activities and rental facilities being used. So some of the things that we did was start with the projects here in 2022. Of course, the new playground for the 5 and 12-year-olds and 2 to 5-year-olds at Byre Park. Of course, we had the benches donated there by the Warren family. So as we do that, as we look around, we did Kerr Park the year before that. We're doing Byre this year, or last year in 22, and we're doing Rarick in 2023. So, and as you can see, Rarick Park, we started that last year. We've got the gazebo built and the landscaping done there. The park electrician, of course, where we're doing the upgrade on the electrical. That part is in. We're working on that right now currently, but a lot of that was done last year. Our park electrician, we're responsible for the electrical and the flower beds downtown. We had several timers that weren't right. He's went through all the timers and got those working, which is very important for the Christmas display timing, I guess. We've installed cameras at a few different locations, the Nye Youth Cabin, Richardson Boyd Park, and Bixler Park. I can't tell you how valuable these cameras are with vandalism and seeing what goes on there. It seems to be when people understand that there's cameras there, the vandalism suddenly stops. And if they don't know they're there, it catches the vandalism. So they're worth their weight in gold. We have the Bixler Park is part of our Central Park camera system, and the other two are just simply MiFi jetpacks that are on a simple home security camera system, but it works very well. And we have access to that on our phones and computers. Of course, our park carpenters were able to rebuild the ramps that have been used since 2005 and 2008 at the skate park. They were able to reconstruct them. As you can see the pictures, they were very, very much in need of reconstruction. That took a couple months to do that, but the skate park is, well underway, and it was used and getting along really well. Playground safety continues to be a priority for our department. As we put wood fiber in every year to keep that fall protection height. Each spring, Sean and the guys, we order that, bring it in, make sure our playgrounds are up to standard. Lucerne Parks, we did some maintenance there done by our park employees. Carpenters again had several rotten boards in the gable ends and the windows. We repaired those. The mortar joints and some of the stones were needed repair. Had cracks in the foundation, one of them that were repaired. We power washed and sealed all the exterior stone of the cabins, and I don't think that's ever been done. It was something that we thought we ought to preserve these. And as you can see, we're ADA accessible on all the cabins now.
Larry, how old are those cabins?
I can't tell you that. I can.
I mean, they look old, but I don't know.
I'm sure they're early 1900s and maybe even late 1800s. I can try to find that out, but I don't know that off the right hand right now. But yeah, they were there when we originally. I can't tell you when we originally took over Lucerne Park, you couldn't even see the cabins. I mean, it was so grown up, and there was we had the Speedy program at that time, and we used that group of individuals for a whole summer just to clear that so we could see the cabins to start clearing Lucerne Park. So, yeah, it was overgrown, but somebody from the Boys and Girl Scout might have an archive of something that, when those were actually built, yeah. Park electrician installed a new split unit heat pump at the BMX track. They use that, of course, to keep their stuff warm in the wintertime and then cool in the summertime. Contracted projects, we were able to seal and stripe the Fireman's Building, the Indiana lot at Central Park. We were able to have the basketball courts at Rarick and Kelly resurfaced. We were also able to, after 28 years of bushes in the medians and the aisles at Central Park, they were to a point where they were just so much dead and everything else in them, they had to take them out. We did this all in-house. We took that out, put underlayment down, restoned and put all new bushes in there. They're on a smaller variety, but they'll grow up in a year or two and we'll have it right back where we were, so, had several occasions of storm damage, as you know, throughout Lucerne, Central Park, and Kelly Park. A lot of weather events. We took a lot of chainsawing, a lot of tree loads. We have plenty of firewood for our campgrounds, that's for sure. But just one of those years where it seemed like we just got things cleaned up, and here came another one. But it's nice to do that all in-house. Park employees also helped, assisted the planning department moving the bike share stations to Richardson Avoid Park and over by the post office. We did that for the planning department. Of course, we also take care of the 80 beds downtown. Annuals are planted in May and mulch applied. They're watered daily, fertilized every 14 days. And then after the season's over, we remove the flowers and mulch, cleaning the beds for the winter. Some construction going on in 2022. We've talked about that. Of course, our new park office maintenance facility. That's something that's going on. The remodeling of the Center Lake Pavilion, that started in 2022, thanks to a $2.5 million donation from the Zimmer Biomet Foundation. Project's going well. Some collaborations that we did, asphalting to the Pike Lake parking lot and Bixler lot and the Manna Skate Park. We put the funds in to do Pike Lake, and we were able to stretch those funds and get Manus and the Bixler Park parking lot in there. By doing that in-house, we saved thousands of dollars on that. We probably couldn't have afforded just doing Pike Lake if we didn't have that in-house capability with the street department to do the paving on that. Continued collaboration between the Stormwater Division of the city and the Parks Department. Bixler Park and Nye Park, that was done. So everything that's city-owned or park-owned around Cinder Lake has shoreline stabilization completed now. That's a big plus. Everything at Pike Lake is done as well. That's something we tried to do for 30 years and didn't get it done. And Stormwater, the utility, has allowed us to do that. And it'll be good for many, many years down the road. With the help of K21 Foundation grant, we were able to convert the tennis courts, widen those, and get 2 tennis courts and 4 pickleball courts in there. They were perceived really well when we opened them up. A lot of use, and we expect a lot of continued use this year from them. With funds from the KCC RVC, the kayak kiosks, the first one was put at Center Lake and Pike Lake. They were a hit this year. We've added the paddle boards to the Pike Lake, and we had over 500 rentals last year at the lake. So 253 different renters, over 500 rentals. So that was just from late March to October 1st. Bradford's Outdoor Creation helped us revitalize a section of the Beyer Farm Trail. The section that was in memory of Jerry Wallace was done probably 20 years ago, and Mike Bradford, who did work for the Oakwood Cemetery and did our amphitheater work, had approached me and wanted to give back to the community and thought this would be a great spot to put in new retaining wall and dress this up and re-landscape it. And Park employees installed the new ornamental light there, and it came out, and it was quite a neat little project, again, to revitalize that area, and we thank Mike and his team for that as well. Central Park was the destination for thousands of Catholics, walking through the Eucharistic procession, the Fort Wayne and South Bend I can't say that. Help me out there.
Diocese.
Yeah, there you go. Diocese. Started at Sacred Heart Catholic Church and came through town and stopped at Central Park for prayer and blessing before continuing on to Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church. So Sean and I were down there that day, and it was kind of neat to see all that go through Central Park and how Central Park can be a part of that procession. So kind of a neat deal. New equipment. We're on our 4-year replacement for our mower, a new John Deere mower, our annual Bobcat trade-in. We actually got 2 trucks. One was ordered in 2021 and received in 2022. That was Sean's truck. And then the work truck that was scheduled for 2022. We were able to get a tilt bed utility trailer for hauling our Bobcat and other implements around. We had an old car trailer that we've used since '78, and it was time to get with the times where one person could load a Bobcat by himself and
The
not
new ones will last that long?
not struggle. Yeah, hopefully it will. We were able to purchase turbine blowers for our grasshoppers. Saved a ton of man hours this year. Those are strapped right on our mowers. We were hand pushing that all before, and it just allowed us to do it multiple times. Really cleaned it up, as you can see in the picture there. It just that's the cleanest I've ever seen leaf blowing go ever. So new chairs were purchased for the Nye Youth Cabin. Replaced those. And then some projects funded out of 2022 budget, but still ongoing. Of course, the ceiling and striping of the Rarick and Kelly basketball courts, that'll be done in the spring, summer start. Replacement of the pine mound by the NIPSCO substation, the arborvitaes, the replacement of the trees at Central Park Fountain, new heating unit for the Pete Thorne Gym, the audio visual for Center Lake Pavilion, and the security and fobbing for the Center Lake Pavilion renovation. Those were things that money from 2022 was encumbered for 2023. Other things to note, park employees set up and tear down the alley by the city hall here all the time. All the tables and planters are moved in the winter. Back in the spring, they empty all the permanent trash receptacles downtown. Collected approximately 75 ton of garbage throughout the parks this year. 141 doggy bags on the Beyer Farm Trail. Chris keeps good tabs on that. And the Zimmer West Trail. Currently assisting 22 residents through our driveway assistance program. Knock on some wood, we haven't had too many days to do that this year. We've had a pretty mild winter, although I've seen it snow pretty heavily in March before, so we're not out of the woods there yet. The employees maintain 80 acres a week, maintain the Pete Thorne Center, the pavilion, the Nye Youth Cabin, Farmers Building, Pike Lake Campground, the Beyer Farm Trail, 4 cabins, 8 rental shelters, various parks, Central Park Plaza, and Lucerne Amphitheater. They also delivered 120 sawhorse tables within the city limits, 20 outside of the city limits by Wayne Township. Also delivered 245 picnic tables within the city limits and 26 outside, but in Wayne Township. This is service our department provides to the residents. I think it's a unique, and most cities and parks, I don't know of any other city and park department in the state of Indiana that does it. There may be, but I'm not aware of any. I think, that's something we did and just continue to do.
And I know the schools always appreciate when you deliver the tables. The kids are like, yay, we can sit outside again.
Absolutely. And we're a big part of that in COVID as well, when that was doing the outside stuff. So, yeah. Our parks continue to be a great asset for our community, serving Warsaw residents as well as Wayne Township residents and, many other cities and towns. There's not a day that goes by that we don't have somebody from another city or town or state, as far as that goes, that we don't see in our park system. So, we're grateful to you all, the park board, the city council, the mayor, that realize that park and recreation, what that brings to our community as well. So, programs and events. Stephanie has put this together. As you can see, we'll just kind of go over this real quick. all the events. It lists how many participants we had. We had 20,055 participants in our programs. That is greatly up from last year. As you can look at the revenue and the donations, we're a total of 12,529 for that. Monetary sponsorships, $43,300. That's great work there. Grants, $10,400. For a total revenue of $66,229. And I can't express enough of the work that Stephanie has did with this and the funds she's brought in to do these programs and she's taken our programs to another level, and I really appreciate it. This is good old work. The overall income report, seasonal rentals were 25,309, year-round rentals 20,239, campground 56,818, and add-on services like the marquee and setups at the pavilion and wood were at 1183. So we can kind of go through these real quick. The campgrounds, as you can see, the net income was $55,018.42. Center Lake Pavilion, we were actually in the red there, but that was due to not renting the pavilion due to construction, anticipation, and also the use of the facility during the COVID testing process. We had multiple days where that was used, and it takes heat and it takes cleanup and stuff, but we just had no revenue coming in from that. So the Cern cabins, our net income was $4,790. As you can see, that's up from 2022. Fireman's building, net income was $12,511. Again, up from 2021. The night youth cabin, net income $6,738. Again, up from 2021. Amphitheater, and let's see, revenue, I should say, revenue amphitheater, digital marquee, the plaza, and shelter rental. Most of that, except for our digital marquee, and I think that was due to a lot of it, pavilion rental is tied directly to that marquee. So the pavilion wasn't rented as much, so the marquee wasn't used as much. And then shelters, we had a good year with shelters, it's a couple rentals away from 2021, so very close there. Kayak stations, like I said, we generated $5,494 in revenue. For that, that goes back into a non-reverting fund to keep those, the equipment and things up to date on those. So we're happy about that. Tables, as you can see there, picnic tables delivered. We surely did a lot more revenue in 2022 than 21. Picnic tables in the parks were fairly close, and the same with sawhorse tables. So we're up in total revenue there of about $800. The Pete Thorne Center, we show a net income in the red of $4,386. We try to make that a wash out there, but we had some repairs this year. The north door, we had to bring somebody in to replace the door frame and the steel door there. It hadn't been replaced since, I believe that building was built in '79. So it was rusted out, so we had to get that done, and we had to have some work done on the AC and the heat units, both ends, for the summer and winter. So, and then the carpets were cleaned in the senior center and all throughout there. So, so I think that's why the net income, with those expenses included that aren't every year expenses, I think that's why that net income is where it's at. Sales tax revenue, we're down a little bit there. Again, I think that ties right into pavilion. Total revenue there in 21, we're up some, but as you can see in the insurance reimbursements, we had 6,700 on one, and then 681 in the insurance reimbursement in 2022. Those were both vehicle accidents. Neither one were a fault of our employees, but we did get reimbursed in that, and that's why that total shows. So if you take those out, we're actually higher in 2022 than we were in 2021. So, any questions?
Anybody?
I hit on the high spots. There's a lot I didn't put in here, but, you know, Sean and his group, you know, we were just interviewing for an open position today, and one of the applicants asked us, he works at a current park facility at another town, and he says, you know, I really looked into your department, and I just don't know how you do what you do with what you have. And I said, well, that's a compliment to Sean and his men and Stephanie and her
I
group.
agree.
So,
I know.
you know, it's just good to hear that from somebody from out of town say that, to come apply, because, you know, he had definitely did his research on what we provide and what we have, and it was good to hear that, so I appreciate all they do.
Questions, comments? Okay.
I think we should clap for him.
There you go.
Okay, 2023 project matrix.
Yeah, we try to give a little project matrix of what's coming up. We'll go down these, you know, of course, wood fiber replenishment, you know, we keep up with our safety standards as we showed in the report there, just keeping that depth for fall protection, so we'll do that in the second quarter. A couple of these we've actually started on or finished, the tree replacement at Central Park. You know, with the weather the way it was, we actually got Dogwood Hills trees down here, tree farm down here, and we actually did the tree replacement at Central Park. We've got the substation mound completed with the arborvitae put on there, and then up around the plaza fountain area, the trees were removed there that we talked about, and the new trees are put in. So with getting a head start there, the guys will have time to put the lawn edging back and get that all prepped and ready to go. So this spring, so I think we're ahead of the game there. We want to install playground equipment at Rarick. We're looking at the second quarter for that. As I mentioned, we have all that equipment, so it's just a matter of waiting until the weather breaks to get that installed. Sealing and striping of the Rarick and Kelly basketball courts, that'll be the second or third quarter, depending on K&M's schedule. I know he does a lot of stuff for school, so we got just working his schedule. But that is PO'd for funds from 2022. The purchase of a new van for the rec department, we were actually able to, we ordered that in December of last year, or November of last year, thinking that it would be 6 to 8 months to get it. We actually did receive that just last month, at the very end of last month. So we do actually have the van now. I just got the title today, so that's something that's taken care of. So first quarter, I was right. We got it done in the first quarter, but yeah. You just never know. I mean, we're having trouble still with dump trucks and everything else ordered, but for some reason, the van came in, so we're happy. Central Park sign repair, that was constructed many, many years ago. We had Rick Timmons come out and look at that, and a lot of the block work needs retucked and remudded. So we're going to have that done the first quarter as soon as the weather breaks, and then Sean and the guys will restain that, and we'll have the sign looking brand new again. The Pete Thorne Gymnasium furnace, that is actually, they started that Monday. They anticipate having most of that done by Friday, so that's good to have that going and getting that done. That's a furnace that will also bring fresh air into the gym, whereas the other furnaces that we have are just heaters.
Oh, good.
This is something that'll bring fresh air in there, so you know, in the summertime, if we have to use it for activities or whatever, at least we'll have fresh air coming in and out of there. It's not an air conditioner, but it'll bring fresh air. So, of course, we have the new lawnmower, keeping up with our replacements. We looked to install a volleyball at Center Lake, part of the recreational trail going through there. We'll do that in-house, second or third quarter. Electrical upgrades at the campgrounds, we're moving right along on that. I'm sure Sean will give an update on that, but we're looking first, second quarter of that. Of course, get that done before the campground opens. The paddleboard kiosk at Center Lake, we're looking third or fourth quarter in there to get that installed along with that recreational trail. The roofing at Glover Pavilion, we actually have a contractor that just ordered the material for that, so we're looking at probably next month or March or early April to do that, you know, weather dependent.
Is
park
that
off.
going to be a metal roof?
It will be, yes. A standing seam, so you'll see no screws or anything like that. We ought to get another 50 years out of that, so,
Yeah.
yeah. And there are several, in that quote was a replacement of some of the decking. We've had shingles that were torn off up there. We had our carpenter go out and patch one things, but we noticed there's several other pieces of decking up there that need replaced, so they're going to replace the decking, the downspouts that are damaged, and put a standing seam metal roof on there, so it'll be good for hopefully 50 more years, so. The park office maintenance building, of course, first, second quarter, we'll hope to move in there. Center Lake Pavilion, third quarter, we hope to see that done. I just got permission through Board of Works to order the tables and chairs for the Center Lake Pavilion, so we'll have round tables with chairs, new carts, and storage units for that. Then the recreational trail, that's looking to go out for bid next month, hopefully, to get that going. We look for possibly a May start on that as well. So that's kind of a synopsis of what we're looking at in 2023. Any questions there?
Not much going on, right? Questions, comments?
I'll
Thanks,
take a
Larry.
break and give Sean
Okay.
some time here.
Next up, maintenance report.
Yeah, real quick, jumping back, Larry was rattling off so much. Just wanted to make sure you guys saw the picture of our guys that got the playground maintenance technician
Absolutely.
certificates.
That was really neat.
That comes in really helpful to have guys that are properly trained, know what to look for on playgrounds and do our inspections for us and keep them safe for the public. So proud of those guys, wanted to give them a shout out. Jumping into maintenance report, we've taken advantage of the weather lately. It's been beautiful for this time of year. So like Larry said, we got all the trees replaced in Central Park. We were scrambling to get them out of the ground. Dogwood Hills had them ready and was ready to plant them. So basically, we got them out of the ground and they're right on our heels, planting them in the ground. So we have to clean up a little bit around there when we get some time, replace some edging that got tore out because they were all tied in the roots and everything. So when the old trees came out, it tore that out as well. That'll be wrapped up sooner than later, especially looks like next week's going to be still in the 40s and 50s. So we're going to get a lot of outside work done. Power upgrade at the campground. We have all the overhead lines installed. Larry showed NIPSCO had all the meters installed. So now we just have to make up both ends. We have to get them installed to the meters on the one end, and then we have to get them installed to the panels on each row. And that'll be real beneficial when we're all said and done. We'll have a meter for each row. And if we have a problem in a row, we're able to isolate power to that row, turn it off, and fix any problems. Before the old setup, we had no way in-house to be able to disconnect power to the campground rows. We had to call NIPSCO to come pull the cutout every time we needed power killed, and then it would kill power to the whole place. So it's something that's needed to happen for a lot of years. I'm glad we're finally getting it done. And it'll be a lot easier to maintain and service these things in the future. We were also re-roofing both buildings out at the campgrounds, taking full advantage of this weather. We got the office completely re-roofed last week. The guys have been working on the restroom shower building this week. They have 3 sides of that done. We're going to take a break tomorrow because it looks like it's going to rain all day, and then we'll get back on it Thursday, and we should have that wrapped up Thursday afternoon. So along with the new electrical upgrade, they'll have new roofs on their buildings out there, and then hopefully this spring when it warms up, we'll restain the siding and it'll look brand new out there. We did a full service on our mow trailer. We pulled it in the shop, put all new deck boards on it, sealed all of those, made repairs and secured the fenders. They were getting a little loose and shaky, so we secured them up. And then we repainted the whole thing. Made sure the wheel bearings were packed, the taillights all worked, all of that stuff, so.
It's only in 1988, so we're trying to preserve it.
Yeah, it's still got a few more years.
10 more, right?
Yeah, at least.
35 years old.
I remember the day we bought it.
And then also on our picnic table, sawhorse table refurbishment, we have all the picnic tables and sawhorse tables done. All of our benches are refurbished. We're currently finishing up on our stages, lifeguard stands, bike racks, and the last of the sawhorse legs themselves. So we should be wrapping up inside here pretty quickly. And then we'll be gearing up, ready to get outside and having some fun, turn on water and stuff. So
I think a
that's
lot
all
of
we
people don't know how many tables we really have. I mean, you know, we're well over 500 picnic tables if you count our big ones and our small ones. So it takes some time for the guys
Yeah.
out there, and we do it every year.
I feel sorry for the guys that have to pick those up and then take them back every year. Man, that's a lot of work,
There's an art to it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't feel too sorry. We cut 2 foot off of them years ago,
Oh,
made them
okay.
lighter. It is technique based though.
Questions, comments? Okay, recreation report.
Okay, we've had a busy month of February at the Parks Department. We had our Daddy's Little Sweetheart Dance on February 3rd and 4th. Very successful. We had a lot of fun. I think Suzanne and Sean had the most fun. They were dressed for the 80s. But a great time for everyone. So many people just thank us for what we do, making special memories for them. Imagination Station on February 14th. We had a lot of kids there for that. And what we're doing now is if we don't have all of our kits taken or put together on that date, we have been doing take-home kits again. So we had 45 kits go out in February between in-person and take-home kits. So that always makes me happy because kids that can't come and participate still get a chance if we have those kits left. And then our next big program is on March 10th. It's Art in the Park, watercolors with Terry Armstrong, and I'm happy to say that is completely filled already. So we have 26 spots that are filled. So, and that's what I have for this month, so.
Questions, comments? Okay. All right, next up, Zimmer Biomed Center rate discussion.
Yes, as we, get closer to the end game here, I thought it would be good to get it, fresh in your guys' mind to think about rental rates for that facility. It's a little bit different animal than we had before because it was all or nothing before, and now we've got, a conference room and a main room, or we have the ability to rent both of those rooms at the same time. So kind of laid out, a Monday through Thursday here, a rental of a full facility, rental of the main room. We would look for rates for those and damage deposits. Monday through Friday, the rental of the conference room. We've decided or talked as a group that maybe we ought to offer a 4-hour rental for that conference room as well, because a lot of times businesses, they won't use it all day long. If we had a 4-hour rate, maybe we would get more conference use in there for that. So that's something we want to discuss with the board about doing something like that as well.
The meeting room, the conference room, how many will that seat, that conference table?
I think it's 60, yeah,
Oh.
yes,
The small conference room?
in the small conference room, yeah, I think so. And then we would like to keep the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday rental to either the rental of the full facility or the rental of the main room. We don't want to just have the conference room tie up somebody not renting the whole facility is our thinking behind that. So, we feel offering the conference room as an all-day rental or a 4-hour rental will provide the better renting experience for the businesses, morning, noon, and evening meetings. However, we would like to keep the limited to Monday and Friday so it doesn't interrupt the full rentals on the weekend. We would like to limit the use of the conference room to meeting and conferences and not an alternative to like small birthday parties or things like that. It's a carpeted facility back there and with a lot of technology used back there. So, I think we have sufficient facilities for things or activities like that, but if it's a full rental facility for a birthday party or something like that, I think that's fine. I think that's something, but as far as, taking an alternative for our conference room and allowing that for rentals of that type. I think there's other alternatives in the park that serve that much better.
It's not really
Yeah.
designed for a party room, is it?
Right,
Is it-
right.
And that's what you're saying?
Yes,
It would
yeah.
make sense
Yeah.
not to,
Yeah.
to have that room torn up, not that parties would do that, but
Correct.
you're more apt to.
Spills and stuff. such as that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but, so those are just some of the ideas, you know, as you can see, in our old facility, Monday through Thursday, it was $200 with a $100 damage deposit, and then Friday and through Sunday, it was $400 with a $300 damage deposit. So, you know, you can kind of gauge off of that a little bit and get some ideas, and Suzanne has reached out to some other places that have rental facilities, and we can certainly provide you with those comparisons and provide you with some more information there for your decisions on where you want to set the rates for this. But I just felt that it was necessary to get it on their radar and start moving this and be prepared so when the building is complete that we have those rates in place. So.
How many times would you guess that you had to withhold the damage deposit from damage?
Well, it's, you know, prior to COVID, we did every now and then. I mean, it wasn't, you know, every month or something like that. It was a few times a year, either partial or full we did. But, you know, during COVID and of course, you know, before the renovation started, very limited, very, very minor. Yeah.
But this is a brand new facility.
Yep. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And refresh my memory, because as I'm remembering it, if they rent the whole facility for the day, that conference room, that wall between the conference room and the main room, that folds back and that
It
becomes
actually is
one
a-
big room?
Yeah, it's actually a button you push and it retracts up into the ceiling and it makes all big one conference room there. Yeah,
Okay, so
absolutely.
they have the windows out to the lake as part of their
Yeah.
event?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. Then our audio visual, I mean, we've got projection screens on the both walls as you face in there. That's why we have round tables so you can see it on either way. And then we have a big monitor or TV, you know, so to say, big screen in the conference room that can tie it with that as well. So, I mean, it's pretty extensive. We're trying to get it as nice of a system that we can get, but yet still be user-friendly. We don't want it to go in there and people not understand how to use it and be able to use the stuff. So we're going to have screens with just simple touch buttons, and hopefully they can get the experience they want out of our new facility.
Are you fielding calls for the rental now?
She's had several calls people wanting to rent that,
Yes.
but we just have not taken them just because of the rates and
But
the unknown of
inquiries.
the completion date for sure. So that's another reason why I'd like to get this going and have those rates. So if we're sure that the completion date is going to be, you know, on the day they say, that we can start getting it rented for sure.
Do they think they'll have it done in August? I mean, is it looking,
For all purposes, yeah, I think we're on schedule. If nothing else comes up, I think we're on schedule.
Good.
Yeah.
Are you doing continuous carpeting, or is it like in squares where you can replace a square or two that's damaged? Do you know?
I'm not sure out of hand, but that's just in the conference room, but
Oh,
we did
just in
we
the
did see
front
it.
part?
The front is LVT, which is a commercial vinyl.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
traffic friendly.
Yeah.
That's what you see in most of the like doctor's offices, corporate buildings.
I mean, it makes sense for with
Yeah.
people running in and out and sand
Yes.
and
Yes.
Yeah.
all that other stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
any more questions or comments?
So if we get that information for the comparison, Suzanne will work on that. We'll get that out to you, and then we'll revisit this again
Yeah.
next month and just keep working on it until we
Sounds good.
come to a consensus of what we think that ought to be. Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, CARES Act funds for recreation programming.
I'm going to let Diane talk a little bit about this, where these funds are at and how they came about, and then I can let Stephanie kind of, talk about how she would run to use them. Yeah.
So, as you know, the city received some federal money from the CARES Act. The intention of it was to help provide relief from gaps that might have happened because of COVID losses. The city of Warsaw was able to show that all of it could go back into the general fund for all the programs in the city, just because of the amount of revenue that we lost during COVID. Like when you look at the pavilion and what we lost for renting it, for instance, that's an example of that. Or when you look at programs and things, what we lost with income because people didn't attend